What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I've got a quick Destiny 2 update. So we had server maintenance today, that has now ended and the hotfix is available, and this is going to enable some of the content coming forward in the next couple of weeks. Also, we have some of the first words from Bungie about when we can expect updates inside of January 2018. This is something we've been eagerly awaiting. I also wanted to talk about the weekly weapon reset that happens for the vendors, and also some new information from Jason Schreier from Kotaku about the production of Destiny 2, which is pretty interesting, so let's get into it. So today we did have server maintenance and we now have a hotfix for Destiny 2. The hotfix is very basic. Essentially it enables the Iron Banner and the faction rallies for people who don't own the DLC. So here are the patch notes. Iron Banner, players who do not own Curse of Osiris may once again access Iron Banner when available, and for faction rallies, players who do not own Curse of Osiris may once again pledge to factions during faction rally events. So basically Bungie fixed all of the stuff that was locking this content away if you didn't own the DLC, and of course this means we can now actually have those events in the game because we haven't seen them since Curse of Osiris dropped, so we've actually missed out on a little bit of content there. But in terms of when we're going to hear from Bungie and all of the kind of promised updates and changes that they're going to be addressing in 2018, we had the first words from D2's from Bungie. So he said, "Happy New Year, I'm back at Bungie today to check final details for tomorrow's deployment," and he was talking about the patch we've just had. "We'll be restoring game rituals like Iron Banner and faction rallies to working order for all. Updates to the live calendar to come next week." He goes on to say, "I get the new and improved community band back together on January the 8th. That's when DMG04 and Cosmo return from a winter mountainous excursion and paternity leave. Until then, the studio is welcoming people back from the holiday one by one." So basically, us hearing any kind of updates or word from Bungie this week is more or less out of the question. I would be inclined to say that perhaps we'll hear from Bungie later this week and they'll drop the faction rally next week or something like that, but Deej did of course say updates to the live calendar will come next week. So we're probably going to have to wait another week to get any of those events, and we're certainly going to have to wait another week until we hear from Bungie. I would assume that we won't get a Bungie weekly update this week. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. Now moving on, I wanted to talk about some of the Dawning rewards. Now there's actually a way that you can get a whole bunch of these without having to do much work, that is at least after you've actually picked up some of the schematics. So once you've picked up all of the available schematics for the Dawning, you will actually begin to get daily Dawning rewards without having to complete schematics. So you don't actually have to complete all of the schematics, you don't have to complete any of them I don't believe, you simply have to have picked up each of the available schematics and you'll start to get the daily rewards for free. So you can see right here that I pick it up from the box and I get the Zephyr Sword as well as some EDZ tokens, pretty interestingly, and then the following day I get one of the sparrows right there and some of the Dawning shaders. And it's worth me mentioning that I have not completed all of the available schematics, so I just wanted to point that out in case you guys didn't know. If there's any of the stuff that you're still hunting, you can simply log in every day and pick stuff up. Another thing to note, if you are spending a lot of glimmer applying shaders or mods or anything like that, even if you don't want the stuff from the Dawning packages, you can get up to 15,000 glimmer every single day if you do this across 3 characters, because, you know, breaking down the ships will give you a lot of glimmer, and credit to Pudo D on Reddit for pointing that one out. So I just thought that was worth breaking down for you guys. Another thing I wanted to talk about is something that Jason Schreier from Kotaku said on the Destiny Tracker podcast this week. So of course Jason Schreier works for Kotaku and he's leaked a whole bunch of information about Destiny in the past. He's written articles about the development of the game and things that he's learned from inside sources. He also leaked information about Curse of Osiris, it's worth remembering that. So he has a lot of information about what's going on at Bungie, and this is what he said on the Destiny Tracker podcast. So he says, "I think that Destiny 2 was made in a relatively short period of time. There was a big reboot of Destiny 2 at some point in early 2016. There had been a previous director who was directing the game before Luke Smith, and that guy was kind of put aside and Luke Smith took over." And he adds that if he remembers correctly, that was in April of 2016. So if you think about it, that way they didn't really have a ton of time. It was essentially a 16-month period between the reboot of Destiny 2 and when the game actually shipped. So of course, if that information is true, then it's pretty telling as to why, you know, some of the stuff in Destiny 2 is the way it is. To build a game like Destiny in 16 months, you know, that's not a lot of time. And it's interesting because we've heard this in the past. Destiny 1 was rebooted, you know, a year or so before that released, and it seems to be a thing that Bungie do pretty regularly. But Schreier goes on to say what Bungie decided was, we can't do this anymore, it's too hard for us to be releasing DLCs every few months. The tools that we're working with are really hard to deal deal with, it's hard for us to make this much content, and it's hard to make content in general. They said that they wanted to do a smaller drip feed of content, and that they were going to put stuff like Eververse up and make money that way. And this was what they proposed to Activision, and Activision said okay. So according to Jason Schreier and the way that he's wording that, it was actually kind of Bungie's approach to Destiny 2 as opposed to one that Activision had forced upon them. Although the thing to remember about that is that Activision, you know, they're the ones setting the standards and setting the expectations for how much money the game is going to make. So of course they do force Bungie's hand in coming up with ways to make more revenue. But he does finish by saying that that whole Eververse thing was a part of their renegotiation deal, and they got to a point where they just didn't have to be cranking out so much content, as in the DLC types of content. And this is essentially, you know, a simplified version of what Jason Schreier said in the messy true story behind the making of Destiny, which is an article he posted in 2015. So to summarize, basically, according to Schreier, Destiny 2 was rebooted in early 2016, which left them with roughly 16 months to actually ship the game. On top of this, he reiterated that, you know, Eververse was Bungie's attempt at a solution for content in the game. It was a way for them to continue to make, you know, large amounts of revenue without having to try and put out as many content releases. And in the article he posted in 2015, he said that the original idea was that they would do, you know, a major release and then a Comet style, which was the Taken King style expansion, and then another major release and use microtransactions in between to kind of keep revenue flowing. Of course, that model doesn't appear to be the way that they're moving forward right now. We have the season pass for Destiny 2, but we also have microtransactions. So it's going to be interesting to see how they support Destiny 2, especially after that first year, and also when they attempt to actually get another Destiny game out, if that's even a thing in the future. It's very obvious that Bungie and Activision are constantly shifting and turning and changing the approach, and Destiny has certainly been a pretty rough ride for Bungie. But a game like Destiny, you know, isn't an easy game to make. Considering the deal that they have with Activision, you know, they're under a lot of pressure, Bungie. Either way, I think this stuff certainly gives us an insight into why Destiny is the way that it is. Up next though, I wanted to talk about the weapon reset that happens at all of the vendors now. So it appears that the weapon resets actually happen between Tuesday and Wednesday. Essentially all of the vendors slowly will get a new weapon that they can sell for that week, and then once it's available it will be there for the full week. And a few of you have posted comments over the past couple of weeks as I've been trying to figure out the timing of these things, asking if I could post videos for it. Now of course this isn't like the old weapon resets in D1 where we had the roles changing and everything like that. So you guys will have to let me know in the comment section if you'd want to see a video like this each week. For now though, we'll go over the weapons that you can pick up from each of the vendors very briefly. So in the tower, Zavala for this week has the Deadpan Delivery Shotgun. So it's aggressive frame, you've got barrel shroud as well as full choke and smoothbore right there. You've got flared magwell or accurized rounds and then pulse monitor. So generally this is a really kind of high impact shotgun, but with smoothbore right there, and as well you can pair that with accurized rounds, you get a lot of range, so it's a very high range shotgun. Also pulse monitor is pretty interesting inside of PvP. It actually can be okay on things like shotguns, auto reloading part of the mag when the wielder is critically wounded. You know, if you're pushing into a whole group of enemies and you've got ammo in reserves, then it can be somewhat beneficial. So all in all, it's a pretty good PvP shotgun and it's worth throwing in the collection. Shax has the play of the game grenade launcher. So this is adaptive frame, you've got linear compensator, confined launch and hard launch. We have proximity grenades as well as remote detonation, and then we have threat detector. So increased reload stability and handling when enemies are in close proximity. Also increased proximity detonation or remote detonation depending on your preference. And the stats that you can get from these different kind of barrel options make this a pretty decent grenade launcher, especially inside of PvP content. This one in the right hands in the Crucible is really solid. Devram K in the EDZ has the Scathe Lock auto rifle. Of course, adaptive frame, so 600 rounds per minute, IS-5 circle, Model 8 red, and Mark 10 glass in the sight. These are all of the kind of old school militaristic style scopes. You've also got high caliber rounds as well as tactical mag, and then under pressure, improves stability and accuracy as the magazine gets lower. Now this is one of the premier auto rifles in this particular archetype. Of course, inside of PvP, high cal is pretty nice, and also in PvE, it's a very solid bonus. You also have have tactical mag for multiple improvements, and then under pressure, improves stability and accuracy as the mag gets lower. So it's a little bit like Zen Moment, but obviously works a bit differently. A weapon that a lot of people have, but if you don't have one, definitely worth picking up. On Titan, Sloan has the Tone Patrol Scout Rifle, so it's precision frame, the same archetype as Nameless Midnight. You've got SLO 10 post, SPO's 57 front, and SRO 37 ocular, high caliber rounds once again, or flared magwell, and then we have Dragonfly, precision kills create an elemental damage explosion. And this is a really nice scout rifle. Actually, inside of PvP as well with high cal, it is pretty decent, but of course, Dragonfly isn't doing a whole bunch for you there. Dragonfly isn't a fantastic bonus, you know, it doesn't really compare to Firefly in terms of the damage and the size of the explosion, but it's still a pretty fun bonus. And again, high cal will help you out in PvE content, so I actually rate the Tone Patrol pretty well. I think it's a really good scout, and if you're into these Soros model scouts, then you know this one is going to be a pretty interesting weapon. Asher on IO has the Blue Shift rocket launcher, so it's a high impact frame launcher with linear compensator, confined launch, and quick launch. It has high velocity rounds or alloy casting, and then we have field prep, increased ammo reserves, and faster reload when crouched. Now, of course, the Curtain Call and the Sins of the Past just absolutely rip it up, and without cluster bombs, rocket launchers just don't feel too fantastic. The bonuses that you get and the stats on this thing are fairly decent, you know, high velocity and high blast radius are a pretty good combination of the two, but then, you know, field prep is just not that fantastic of a bonus. Of course, if you need a legendary launcher, absolutely it's worth picking it up if you've got, you know, the materials for it, but the Curtain Call and the Sins of the Past will do much better for you in general. And finally at Sloan, we have the Agenda 5 Pulse Rifle. This is a lightweight frame pulse rifle, so 450 rounds per minute, just like the Nightshade. We've got Impulse MS3 and Transmission MS7, which are these kind of Omelon long-range scopes. We have Extended Mag, Flared Magwell, and then Zen Moment. This is actually a pretty solid pulse rifle. In terms of handling and stability and everything, it actually does pretty well. This archetype isn't terrible, it just doesn't feel too fantastic. You know, you've got a lot of competition with ARs and screen shake and all of that stuff. And then the big problem for this weapon is that you have only these very long range scopes. So while in general it's a very solid pulse rifle, these scopes kind of let it down quite a lot, you know, they're just not super popular. So those are the weapons that you can pick up from vendors this week, guys. Like I said, it's something people have asked me to cover, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. Do you think this is something that I should, you know, cover on a week-to-week basis? There may be some that you're hunting for, and obviously not everyone wants to go to all of the vendors every week to check, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this Destiny 2 update. I know it's a bunch of different stuff that we looked at, but I thought it was all pretty interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts about any of this stuff in the comment section. If you have enjoyed the video though, a like is very much appreciated. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more D2 content, but for now, have an awesome day.